Hi, everyone. This is the second panel of the International Studies Days 2022, still on Zoom. Hopefully next year we'll do it again in person. In previous years, it was so nice to meet in the Morris University Center and use the budget. This time we gave it back. So I need some thanks from CAS and SIUE. Today we have a very important panel for the International Studies students. It's a panel for or with people who are involved from the university or from the outside of the university, either through faculty-led courses for study abroad, or with organizations that provide such courses for our students, and they are vetted by SIUE, and also with the coordinator of such courses, one of the coordinators of such courses at SIUE. So in the order of this of speaking, we will have first of all Ryan Donald, who is the study abroad specialist of the Office of International Affairs at Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. If you looked at the program, you will see his bio. Then we will talk to Dr. Johanna Schmitz, who is a professor of theater history in the Department of Theater and Dance at SIUE. Then we will have Dr. Kevin Cannon, who is an associate professor and the chair in the Department of Criminal Justice Studies at SIUE. And then last but not least, Dr. Graham Hesp, former student of SIUE. I collaborated with him many times before, and he had students from international studies going in his programs abroad, but he is the Senior Director of Institutional Relations of the Foundation for International Education, FIE for short, and is based in the Metro St. Louis area. So Ryan, you can take over the screen and share your PowerPoint if you want.
Will do, thank you. There we go. Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. As was said, I'm glad for technology that allows us to still do this, but also very much looking forward to being able to do panels like this and discussions in person in the near future. And in many ways, that's what study abroad has been over the last little while. And while we're still impacted by the pandemic, the good news has been that this past academic year here at SIUE, we began to send students again after about 1.5 year gap. We were very excited and thrilled to be able to start sending students in the fall, and now we have as well in the spring, and looking for an even more robust summer of sending students abroad. And I know Dr. Cannon, who's here as well, is one of our faculty members that's looking to lead a program this summer. And so we're very thrilled that things are starting to open up again. A lot of countries are accepting study abroad students again. And so very much encourage those that have either been deferring or postponing or interested to reach out, to talk with your departments, but to talk with our office as well, and to know that things are open again. And so there's a lot of opportunities to do so. One of the things, just briefly before I get into some specifics of what you can do and how, I just wanted to highlight a few brief benefits. Benefits can be quite long and very individualized to you and what you're wanting to do, both academically now and into the future, career, personal, and all those things. But in general, these are some of the main areas that we see students benefiting from the experience of taking part of your time here at SIUE and spending it internationally. And that's, of course, an increased awareness of the world, being able to walk and talk and see things firsthand. We see also generally a decreased prejudice or suspicion as you get to go beyond the headlines, the stereotypes, and meet people and talk with them. We see these type of things breaking down in a good way. And then we also see that the study abroad offers a unique academic and life experience. Sometimes certain things, marine biology is one easy example I always use, in that you can do some good marine biology in the different ecosystems around here in the St. Louis area, Edwardsville area. But if you want to go explore coral reefs or do tropical marine biology, it's a little more difficult here, but through study abroad, SIUE does offer you opportunities to explore certain things like that and add to your academic experience. And then, of course, personal growth and development. This is where, just whether it be your career goals or just your own personal confidence, intercultural competency, and those type of things, this is a chance to grow those, to get into environments that may be different than what you've been used to, and really explore those, engage with diverse people, engage with diverse cultures, and learn to thrive in such environments. Really, this is now the how you can get involved, what you can do, and those type of questions if you have them. Really, there's hundreds of opportunities at SIUE. I think that is one message, if you take it away from today, I would like you to take away, is that there is likely something for you. There's a range of different programs, from the shorter term faculty-led programs, which can be 1 week to 1 month, and you'll hear more about those from some of our panelists today. We have different exchange partner schools and direct placement programs, where those can be either in part of a summer or a semester, even a full academic year. So everywhere from about 1 week, 10 days, all the way to a full academic year. A lot of different places around the world, currently about 300 different programs, different cost structures depending on the type, the length, and all of that. And so a lot of different opportunities for students to get involved and take this, I would say, once in a lifetime type opportunity while you're a student to go abroad and to experience that. And of course, the typical and most of our study abroad experiences are where you're going to go to a university, you're going to take courses, you're going to be, that will apply to your degree here, that will transfer back, and so keep you on track. You're in that classroom setting, but of course in an international setting. But you'll also hear from people like Dr. Hesp and others who are running programs where we're adding a lot more opportunities, such as internships, where you can go and not just take courses, but actually intern with international companies. And again, gain that edge, gain that experience of not just, okay, I would like to do these, but I've actually gone and done it. I have the degree, but I've also had international working experience through this internship. We do field research as well, volunteer type service learning. All of these are new kind of growing areas of study abroad, where it can be very customized to what you are wanting as a student, and where you're wanting to go with both your degree and your career. Three primary considerations if you're trying to think, how do I start, where do I start? You're welcome to come talk to me. I love just someone's come, hey, I want to do this, where do we go? Your advisors as well. These are some of the three primary considerations that I usually bring up, is of course academics, location, cost. What you would like to study, do they have the courses? Is this the type of program you're looking for? The location, of course, is it something that's of interest to you? Is there a certain reason you want to go there? And then cost, of course, is how much is it going to cost? And so it's looking at, we try to find that sweet spot between all three areas is usually the goal. A quick note about cost. For a lot of our programs, financial aid does apply. And so it can range quite a bit, but often it can be similar to a semester here on campus. If you are a full-time student staying in the dorms with meal plan and things like that, it can be a comparable price to that. But that is something we talk about and look through, as well as different financial aid options, scholarships, and so forth. Wanted to highlight a few of our partners and other kind of more unique opportunities. The Peace Corps Prep program is one such, where as a student here, we can enroll you in their Peace Corps Prep program, which is a partnership they have with universities here in the US. This helps prepare you for the Peace Corps, but you don't have to go. It's not an obligation. What it does, though, is it you will get a certificate if you complete it. So it is I usually term it as, it's kind of an international leadership certification and program. And so it is something you can add to your resume. It's open to all students at SIUE. You do not need to be a US citizen or anything like that. You can be in the Peace Corps prep program. But of course, the Peace Corps itself is a US government organized run program. So you would have to be a citizen to transfer into that program. And for those that go through the Peace Corps prep that meet the qualifications, it does help and increase your chances of the Peace Corps acceptance. It's not a guarantee, but it does help. We also partner with a number of different organizations that offer both in-person, but also virtual opportunities like SIA, USAC, and then of course FIE, who Dr. Hesp is here to talk about more. And then just quickly, I wanted to add at the end here is, while we want you to be involved to study abroad, of course, and engage that while you're at SIUE, the field of international higher education is a growing field and often bigger than people think. And of course, education abroad component, which I represent, is a lot of the outward mobility, the programs that are tying more like our home campus students to opportunities internationally. But we also in the International Affairs Office, my colleagues work a lot with international students and scholars that are coming to the US, specifically in our case, of course, SIUE. Then you have also affiliate and industry organizations, and these are kind of the peripheral organizations, whether they're doing humanitarian work or they're providing third party like FIE, where they're looking to help facilitate study abroad organizations. They're looking for governments run education to education type programs to bring students in for cultural and so forth experience. And so there's a lot of different ways you can be involved in international education through these various methods. Quick, if you want to know where to start, you can start with your advisors or you can start with myself. Appointments are available on Starfish, or you can email studyabroad@siue.edu. And thank you for this time.
Okay, thank you very much. As I said, there are two possible opportunities for students who are supposed to study abroad and while being students at the SIUE, to either go through such organizations that Brian was giving as examples for you. And these have to be vetted organizations. You know, I had some students who were coming to me, hey, I found online this kind of program. Yeah, well, if you want, go with that, but you're not going to get credit at the SIUE. They have to be organizations that are vetted by SIUE. I tried my hand, on the other hand, with the other possibility in 2012 and 2014 as an associate professor in public relations, to take students from applied communication studies abroad to Germany and Hungary and Romania and France. Well, since then, I was never able to put together a group of 10 students again for the summer courses. But the next speaker is Dr. Johanna Schmitz from the Department of Theater and Dance. And she has a long experience with study abroad experience going to London.
Hello, everyone. I would like to talk just a little bit before I share my slides with you. I have a smattering of slides that I'd like to run alongside my talk, which is more or less unassociated with the images. Some of what I'm going to say is a reiteration of what Mr. Donald just said. I'm probably going to pitch it in a slightly different way. But the first thing that is a reiteration is that it's such a thrilling, happy time to think about traveling again. I wanted to go to London and take students in 2020, and of course that trip was canceled. Thought about going in 21, that was clearly not possible. And I'm not taking students this year either. But I want to tell you that plans are in the works for a very active travel study program. And I would encourage you to make contact with us. In addition to your advisors and Mr. Donald and Sorry, Natasha, I would encourage you to talk to any of your mentors or professors on campus. I'm developing new social media sites, and which are not available to share yet, but plans are afoot, and we won't know where to find you when they are formulated. So I encourage you to make contact with us, and I will leave my last slide is my email address. So even though plans are very nascent, don't be shy about signaling your interest. I want to tell you that I started studying abroad when I was an undergrad in the 90s. And I didn't really know why I was going into these programs. I just knew that I wanted to. And I'm here to tell you that 30 years later, work in London has turned into my life's work. And if it's not too big of a word, the legacy that I'm going to leave from my professional career as a professor of theater history. And that can happen for you too. You just don't know what the destination is until you start making the steps in that direction. My primary research project is an archive collection around the Rose Theater, or the Rose Playhouse, which is an Elizabethan theater that Shakespeare would have known. And it's the only Elizabethan theater where we have the full footprint and we have access. So my talk today, I'm going to take a minute, hopefully just a minute, to say that I have permission to pursue extended field work in London. So I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be facilitating and hosting regular travel studies, but there are possibilities for other kinds of immersive study there, or study here and linking there online. So Soren, how do I share my screen?
Over the bottom of your screen, and there's a green button that says share screen. Make sure after you press that to select the desktop.
Okay. Do you see it now? Okay, and you don't see my regular desktop, you just see my slide, yeah?
I just see the
Okay.
slide, yes.
Okay, very good. Some of you might be thinking, theater, I'm not involved in theater, and I want to challenge that assumption. I have the coolest discipline because in theater we do everything. We are involved in history and politics and science and geography and anthropology and literature and visual art course and music and architecture. So when I take students to London, we study everything. In fact, we're never in a classroom. London is our classroom. I'd rather have you sitting in the gallery watching the House of Commons than sitting in a classroom like the basement of Peck. I'm sorry, but you know the basement of Peck is rather dire. We traipse all over London, just gathering experiences and engaging. We do some prep work before we go so that I call them the assignment of expert topics, so that you know some of the things that you're encountering, you know about them when you see them. I think our brains like a mix of the familiar and the new. And so when we're in London, that's how I try to organize the study. In the theater, we study everything that has happened, everything that can happen, and what it all means. We even study fantasy. So setting us loose in London is a rich experience. In fact, we could talk a lot, and if you're interested in going, there's certainly academic and professional reasons to go. But those are rather detailed and catered to the individual. I'd like to spend some time reiterating what Mr. Donald said about personal reasons to go. It might seem odd, but it is true. It's true in my experience, and it's been true for every travel study that I have taken since 2008, that when you are abroad, you're going to feel more like yourself than you do here. because you are not going to be burdened by your habits or your obligations here, by your job, by how you interact with your house and your roommates and your family. You're going to be in a new context. And that means that you have more free intellectual capacity to both discover new things and also reaffirm what you already value. I realize that I haven't been moving my slides. So here's my here's my homepage for my research project. And that's what the rose looks like. And this is how I involve students in the work from here. I've had 2 IRCA students win the undergraduate research award in recent years. And I've had IRCA students consistently since 2013 on the project. I love this quote by Proust, and I'm about caught up with my talk now, that we travel not just to gain new experiences, but to change ourselves, to change how we navigate our futures ever after. So the 3 personal reasons to review that I want to present to you is that you'll be more in touch with your own emerging identity, that you'll both broaden and refine your interests. And another is that so much of our educational experience on campus is focused on future learning. But when you're on a travel study, it's about the present, it's about the now. It's about using what you have already learned and applying it in the moment. It's about trusting your reflexes in the moment. We might walk down the street and encounter someone like Ian McKellen. How do you manage that encounter? What do you have within you to manage that encounter in the moment without any prep, without cramming for a test, just in the moment? And I think travel studies help us grow in confidence, because you will have experiences where your expertise has already come into play. Of course, there's resources in London that exist nowhere else. The Magna Carta is in London, for example. Here's a student at the British Museum handling artifacts. We go out of London on day trips to Oxford and Stratford and Brighton. Here's a Facebook post that somebody made after the trip in 2017. It says, "Why would I want to leave? Words cannot describe how amazing this past month has been. And the only thing keeping me together is that it isn't goodbye, it's just see you later." Sometimes students are wary or anxious about going on a travel study, and some of the most anxious students that I've taken have had the confidence to go back on their own or take their family with them after going on a faculty-led travel study. So fear not, you can do it. The Rosetta Stone, this is the artifact that helped us crack the code for hieroglyphics. I did not climb the building with the students this year, but you'll see that they have hashtag don't fall off, hashtag once in a lifetime experience. You can see the globe across the river in the background in that picture. Here we are in the schoolroom where Shakespeare studied the death of Caesar, and here we are reenacting it. By the way, I won't give names, but there are students who have been in the international studies program on this travel study. Here they are in a virtual, this is a cheesy picture and we like it because it's cheesy, but it was a very high budget virtual immersive experience where the students fought War of the Worlds. Here's a student who worked on the Rose Project with me for 2 years and then stayed at SIUE to pursue a master's in English literature. And here she is looking at real artifacts extracted from the site in 1989. So she studied it for 2 years, and then I was able to involve her in the real site. We probably don't have time for this video, but here she is in Stratford explaining why Shakespeare's house was destroyed. And it's academic content, but the students can just turn off the pavement here and see the vacant lot now turned into something of a memorial to Shakespeare's home in Stratford. One important point I'd like to make is that the travel studies are different from a trip that you could organize on your own, because the travel studies take advantage of your professor's contacts, networks, and experience. So the tourist destinations, the tourist attractions are fabulous. I mean, the London Eye is a great thing to do, but you could do that on your own. So I always try to take us off the beaten track, to take us behind the scenes, to use my personal and professional affiliations to give you an experience that you couldn't access on your own. And here we are in the Tate Modern. This video, I turned the sound off, but I would just like to show you, don't know why. Soren, do I have time for a minute?
I think so, but in your share screen, all right, it's working. Everybody can see it?
Yeah. I'd also like to say, this is just my bus ride home, and you're going to see us go across the river and see St. Paul's, and it ends with the National Theater. But this is just a typical day. This isn't me going out to see anything special. I just have to tell you, everything in London, especially for someone who doesn't live there, is a wonderful immersive experience. The fancy parts and the less fancy parts. Every trip that I do is different. London's always changing. I don't want to do the same thing time after time. I want to explore and see things fresh and brand new with you. I want to get lost sometimes, and we will wayfind our way through the city together. So I can't stop it before we get to the National, but my last slide is my contact information. And I encourage you to contact me. I can tell you about my plans, and I can also help you. I will, of course, send you to the International Studies Office, but I can talk a little bit about international programs and other ways to integrate a travel study into your academic plans, into your professional ambitions, and into who you want to be just as a person in the world. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. That was, some very important information for students who want to travel abroad. Again, make the difference between faculty-led courses versus courses that are coordinated and vetted by international affairs at SIUE through outside entities from SIUE, like FIE. So now, for the moment, we will listen to another study abroad experience led by a faculty from SIUE, Dr. Kevin Cannon, Associate Professor and Chair of the Department of Criminal Justice Studies, and he has led study abroad trips in Ireland and the Netherlands.
Hi, so thank you for letting me speak to the students today. Just like with Dr. Schmitz, when I was an undergraduate, I did a study abroad experience. I actually got to do two. One is an undergrad and one is a graduate student. So I got to spend my junior year at the University of Amsterdam. And then I spent a semester at the University of Glamorgan, which is just outside of Cardiff, Wales. So both of those experiences were very important for me. I came from a small farming community, basically in rural Southwest Iowa. And the first time I ever got on a plane was to go from Minneapolis to Amsterdam. So it was kind of jumping in on the deep end and surviving. And this is also back in 1991. So surviving meant it took me 3 hours to figure out how to get out of the airport in Amsterdam. But eventually I was able to find my way there. And just as Dr. Schmitz was saying, the experience of being on a study abroad, whether it is a year-long program, semester, or a travel study, can just be an incredibly transformative experience for students, because it really as Dr. Smith was saying, again, it takes you away from your day-to-day kind of responsibilities and actions, and it puts you in a new environment that you get to be 100% present the whole time. I will be leading students to Ireland in 10 days. So we leave on May 15th. Yeah, so 10 days. To give you an idea, the travel studies that I do, I'll try and share my screen here as long as I can get the right one. So are you seeing? I am sharing screen. So you can see the itinerary. Okay. So this is something that I think is important. Most people wouldn't think of criminal justice as an academic discipline that probably does a lot of international things and something like a travel study. But you can find a variety of different programs at SIUE that do some kind of travel study, and you can go someplace and study almost any issue that you want. And kind of the most important thing is that you're getting to have that experience the entire time. It's not for my travel studies. I'm going to show you the itinerary that we're coming up there for Ireland and Northern Ireland, and then I'll run through what we did when we went to Amsterdam and The Hague a couple of years ago. But on the trips that I lead, there are no times where I'm going to sit there in a classroom with you and lecture. Just again, as Dr. Schmidt said, the entire experience is a learning experience. So you get a variety of ways that you learn. When we go on the criminal justice trips, we do things that are related to criminal justice, like on the second day here, May 18th, we go and visit the police service of Northern Ireland, which while we're there, we get to learn some of the history of the conflicts in Northern Ireland and all the politics and social strife that has occurred there, especially from the period of time, roughly the late 1960s up until around 2000. So you get that learning experience of the criminal justice side. But then the next thing we do is we go to Parliament and we get to talk with government officials and experience how the politics of the Northern Ireland conflict had occurred. And then you get to go, like the very next day, we take a back-to-back tour of West Belfast, as it says here, including the Belfast murals, one by a person who was a member of the Irish Republican Army and who had been a prisoner for engaging in violent activity during the Troubles, and then someone who is from one of the loyalist paramilitaries. And they take a tour with us and walk. So you get both perspectives of the conflicts, which is something that you can't really do if you stay in the United States. You can read all the books about it that you want, but a travel study gets you the opportunity to go someplace and learn from people that actually experienced what it is that we could only study academically here in the United States. And then there's a lot of things that we do that are just cultural, that are just, go have the experience and learn from yourself. Giant's Causeway, Karika Reed Rope Bridge. If you have any idea what that is, it's a rope. I apologize for not finding the pictures of it in time, but it's a rope bridge that goes across about 500 feet above the Atlantic Ocean from one rock area to another. The students enjoyed it. I did it the first time and I'm never doing it again, because also back when I was a student in 1992, when Dr. Smith showed the picture from St. Paul's Cathedral, I did climb up to the top of that back in 92, and I got out on that little ledge, and that's the first time I realized I do not like heights at all. So I went back inside and walked back downstairs. But on these kind of trips, you do a lot of different things. And on the CJ trip, some other trips, maybe they're a little bit more time consuming in terms of what your day is going to be. But on the criminal justice trip that I lead, you get a lot of free time each day, because the biggest part of learning when you're doing a study abroad is just going out and experience the culture. Everything is different. There's familiarity, but there are going to be little differences everywhere you might go. And obviously, when we go to Ireland and Northern Ireland, there's still a language commonality, but there's going to be a variety of experiences there that are different as well. So I want to give you a quick rundown of what we do when we went to Amsterdam. So obviously, as I just mentioned, one of the reasons that we went to Amsterdam is because I lived there and I did a study abroad there. So it was an interesting place to go, and it was someplace that was familiar for me. I think we'll just go with this. So when we went to Amsterdam, we all leave together. So it's one of the travel studies. If you're not entirely confident on just picking up and going someplace that you've never been to and staying there for a year, travel study is a great way to go because you've got a support group that's going to be there with you. You've got people that you can hang out with, you can associate with, and if something goes wrong, you've got people that can help you without question. So this is what we did a couple of years ago. This trip was in 2018. And again, a lot of it's criminal justice related, a lot of it's culturally related. So we did a canal boat cruise. We went to the Cannabis College and learned about the marijuana policies that had occurred in Amsterdam. We went to the Prostitution Information Center and had a fascinating discussion there with a trans female who had been an attorney in New York City and decided that she could make more money as a prostitute in Amsterdam. So even though she was a qualified attorney, she decided to change her life completely and move to Amsterdam, and just did a wonderful job of talking to our students and explaining what the general situation is there. We go to the court system, we go to the Rijksmuseum, the Young in Prison program, so a youth program. So any trip that you might take, whether it's criminal justice, whether it's theater, whether it's political science, history, any other groups or departments on campus that might lead a travel study, hopefully you'll get the opportunity to do a lot of things related to that academic discipline, but you'll get a lot of opportunity to just experience the culture of wherever you might go. And there should be hopefully a sense of adventure. Honestly, the reason we went to Ireland and Northern Ireland for the first time in 2017 is because I never got to go there when I was in Amsterdam or when I was in Wales, and I wanted to go. So we get to go, and it's a wonderful thing for me as the professor because you get to see the students have those first experiences. And hopefully it's something that they will remember forever, and they'll have some special moments there at different times. And you want to continue the adventure. So I know we're going to Ireland and Northern Ireland in 10 days. Next year, I'm planning on seeing if we might be able to go to Germany and the Czech Republic. Again, places I've never been. So you can learn things that are really interesting. The criminal justice system will do the same type of thing. And we'll learn about their policing and their courts and their prison system and juvenile system and all that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing will be just to experience the culture. And that's where I can tell you that I did that year at the University of Amsterdam, and it was the best learning experience in my life. And I don't remember anything I ever learned in a class. It was all about being there. And hopefully, if you get the opportunity to participate in any kind of a travel study or study abroad, I always tell students the longest you can go is best. The biggest city you could possibly find is best. And if it all possible, I really think it's good to go on your own so that you're really thrown in the deep end and you have to learn everything new because you don't have anyone to depend on. If you don't feel comfortable with that, come on our travel studies and we can help you with everything. It's always a great experience. I've never yet had any students who regretted going without question. So I think that kind of summarizes what I would like students to know. So I will stop sharing my screen.
I wanted to ask before we go to the last speaker, both Joanna and Kevin, did you have any difficulties in the past 2-3 years with Brexit and the problem with Northern Ireland? The fact that there's this blockage, hey, is this part of the Great Britain that is not part of the European Union? Ireland is part of the European Union. What kind of currency they are using? What kind of transportation is allowed without checking the contents of what they transport? Do you think you will encounter such problems this year?
Probably not. It's my understanding right now, and it was in the previous years, that there is no hard border between Ireland and Northern Ireland yet. And that is one of the things that has caused some concern, and there have been some protests and things like that in Northern Ireland specifically. But at this point, they still use different currency. So Northern Ireland, you use the British pound, and the Republic of Ireland, you use euros. But there's no checkpoints that you have to go through. So I don't anticipate there'll be any problems. Now, a couple of years from now, if we we generally alternate and try to go to Ireland every other year and then someplace else in between. So if we go back in 2024, then there's a possibility that there would be a hard border at that time. But right now, it's my understanding that everything is just, they pretend like it's one country when you're driving around, rather than the fact that it's actually two.
Soren, could I speak to that specifically as well?
Sure. And Johanna,
A 30-second potted British Empire history. So 2024, when there was partition into the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which stayed in the United Kingdom, there was actually a common travel area created. So really the border-free travel is 100 years older than the European Union. So there was never a passport control between the North and the South. And the plan is that there never will be. The conversation that's occurring is actually around trade, not immigration. And so the European Union is wanting to ensure, for example, during the free trade negotiations with the US is wanting the ability to export chicken that is washed in chlorine in the US to the UK. That is prohibited in the European Union. So what the European Union is wanting to ensure is it doesn't arrive in Northern Ireland and just crosses over the border. So if anything does occur, it will be a trade border, not a immigration border.
okay. Johanna, did you want to say something?
Well, I don't mean to be flip, but one thing the students discover in London is really great food. And even McDonald's, they say, this is different, this is better. And I'm like, yes, it's a National Health Service. They're not trying to kill you with fast food. So really good food, and you won't get chlorine rinsed chicken over there. So I think our colleague here is better, is an expert on this more than I am, but you asked about my experience. The Brexit vote happened in 2016, if I remember right, and then there were delays in enacting it, and we haven't been there since then. But I don't anticipate any problems. Remember, they never adopted the euro. I think it's because I joke that it's, and I'm not the only one that does, that it's because they wouldn't put the Queen on the money. So they maintain the British pound. I can say with some confidence that, you know, I'm in Shakespeare studies, and Shakespeare is a great English export, but banking is even more of a British institution than the arts that I am in. They do banking really well. I have never had a student, aside from a student who brought a check card thinking it was a credit card, and the balance ran out. I've never had a student have difficulty accessing their money. The exchange rate is something to watch, but we don't spend, the biggest expense for us is housing. And that's already taken care of before the students get there. Even if the students are buying trinkets at every stop or going to additional events, they're not spending enough to really make a 0.1 difference really hit. And right now the exchange rate there is quite a bit in our favor. I was shocked when I looked up a couple of days ago that it's 1.25, and I've been there when it was 2.2. So 1.25 is very good for us. Now the exchange rate's one thing, but there's this thing called London prices. So things are expensive. There is no $5 foot long there from Subway. The footlong sandwich there is going to be the equivalent of $8 probably. So in the Midwest, especially, we have access to cheap, bad food, and you're going to spend more to eat in London. But that's another one of the activities, enriching activities, is to try new things. One thing that I do is I have a photo scavenger hunt, and one thing on that scavenger hunt is take a picture of food you've never seen before. I'm surprised that it's something that I see pretty often, like maybe nori, like dried seaweed, and the students are blown away by it. So I've gone on a tangent away from your Brexit question, but I anticipate that London wants us to come, and they're going to make it easy for us to be there. And I don't anticipate issues with finance or banking or ease of financial transactions in any way.
Yeah, I just need two small inserts here because I come from a nation in the eastern part of Europe, which is now part of the European Union and NATO, which is Romania. And I worked 1997 to 2001 for the Ministry of Culture of Romania in the international relations, but the European Integration Unit. And only in 2007, Romania was accepted in the European Union, but still we don't have the euro. On the other hand, a bit of trivia, the nation of Greece that has had the drachma since the time of Socrates changed the drachma for the euro. And at a certain moment, around 2008, they were thinking about going to the drachma back because there were economic problems. Also, concerning the taste of the food and the costs, you know, when I took my kids when they were smaller, about 10 years ago, for the first time to Germany, well, my little daughter was telling me, "Oh, Dad, so much tastiness in this food. It's a different experience, the food in Europe, because it's more natural." And in the United States, we have to think that maybe soon the $5 footlong will not be $5 because everything is increasing now. I see the prices. Plus, there was a discussion at a certain moment that the footlong is not really ever a footlong.
More reason to go to London, where they standardize weights and measures.
Exactly, exactly. So let's move on to the last but not least speaker, Dr. Graham Hesp, the Senior Director of the Institutional Relations of the Foundation for International Education, FIE, based in Metro St. Louis.
Thank you. As I think was mentioned during my introduction, so I'm actually a two-time SIUE alum. I did my undergrad and then my MBA at SIUE, and it seems like many of us have had our own study abroad experiences. Not that I would recommend this for any of the students listening, but I actually came to SIUE on one of the original exchange programs that doesn't exist anymore with the School of Business. I came over for a 2-semester and then ended up transferring and staying on and getting 2 degrees. And then apart from sort of 5 years back with FIE in London, I was actually spent the rest of the time in the US at various spaces and ultimately got my doctorate at Florida State. And as the introduction said, I am currently in the Metro St. Louis, so I'm actually right underneath you as we speak. I'm in the Fairview Heights area. So I've worked with FIE since 2011, since returning, since leaving the US, as I say, 5 years in London, and then since 2016, I've been back in the US as well. Please let me know. I'm having a couple of connection issues. So if something doesn't quite work, I do have some little, what we call FIE in 60-second videos. And so if they don't play properly, I can easily skip over them. But a little bit about what is FIE and who is FIE.
At FIE, we're not just
students and faculty.
We're not only learners
and lecturers.
We are expanding minds,
expanding futures.
We're redefining the classroom.
We are life-changing.
Eye-opening. We are a community
driven by our values
that wants you. Yes, you.
To join.
Come meet us over here in the UK
and Ireland.
And we promise.
We promise. You'll never look back. You'll explore and connect and learn life lessons.
You'll grow into the person you never dreamed you could be.
FIE, we're here to help you
unlock a wider,
brighter future.
And that is some of our on-the-ground staff in our operations in London and Dublin. Yet, as you'll see, and this is very much reflective of the multiculturalism that is London, we've got a bunch of Americans who work for FIE as well, even though they are in London and in Dublin. So our main operation is in London. We do have some quarter programs, but certainly when it comes to SIUE, the interest would be in semester and summer. So very much following the same sort of calendar as exists on the Edwardsville campus. So late August to mid-December, around about 16 weeks, there is a fall and spring break. Usually take between 4 and 5 courses. And as Ryan mentioned, they will come back in as SIUE credit. And so you stay on track for graduation. And you can do either a study or a study and internship experience. And then in the summer, we have 2 different 8-week study and internship sessions, 7 weeks of internship, and you're interning 2.5 days a week. The reason it's that model is purely because of immigration rules, and you take 2 courses that go along with that. We do have a wide gamut of options for internships. Dr. Schmidt, I do believe your students have stayed in FIE housing a few times. So we obviously, one of our major internship areas is theater and performing arts, whether that is as a stage manager or working in the marketing area. We've even had students in the fall semester, because of the timeline, actually on stage in a very British pantomime, which you really only see in British-speaking cultural areas. And so if you want to experience what is a pantomime, then certainly you go see London over sort of the Christmas period.
Rolling hills, cows, Pennsylvania farms. That was really my upbringing. My spring semester in London at FIE really made me dream bigger, and it really opened up the world to me, and it made the world feel a lot smaller and felt like I could kind of conquer it.
We believe the best way for students to grow is to experience new, challenging, and exciting environments.
Personalised internships help you discover new career paths and strengthen your resume with international work experience to unlock a wider, brighter future.
FIE's internship experience is super customizable, and I got a great placement. I got to work in the bustling East London neighborhood, and I worked with a really young group of people, and they really accepted me from the beginning, and I felt like a real employee. And best of all, it was a placement in my job market that I worked in.
And then obviously
now,
we
so
also have
programs
programs in Dublin, again, following a semester and summer model. If you are, like Dr. Cannon, maybe from a more rural area, and the concept of being in a city with 10+ million people speaking 300 different languages and is 100 miles from one side to the other, if that's a little intimidating for you, then Dublin is the city for you. Yes, it is still a European capital city, but it very much has that walkable village feel about it. Again, 15.5 weeks, you take 4 to 5 courses, and you can do a study and internship experience. What is really nice about Dublin in the summer, and again, this is because of different immigration rules, is you can actually do an 8-week internship program. It's basically full-time, so 4 days a week, allowing you a 3-day weekend, and that would be the only experience that you're getting. You still get to take our international internship course, so credit for your internship would still come back to SIUE, but an absolutely amazing experience. If you're looking possibly to do an internship in the summer anyway, then this would allow you to not only do an internship, but an international internship experience as well. Throwing a little bit of research data out there. Now, admittedly, the new data are not yet out, but pre-COVID pandemic, only about 11% of US college graduates do any sort of study abroad experience. And that includes the short-term spring break type experience. So if you're trying to make yourself look different, any type of these experiences we've talked about today would make you stand out on your resume. If you want to do an international internship experience, only 1% of US college graduates actually do a study abroad plus internship. And our course allows you to articulate that, whether that is through a graduate school application or in a job application, will help you walk through and talk about your experiences.
Oh, okay. So do I understand that this is out now?
Studying and interning with SIUE in Dublin is a life-changing, transformative experience that you'll never forget. You'll step beyond what you know and into adventure with support from our experienced team throughout the journey. SIUE's courses are designed so that you can actively participate in Irish culture.
Your hands-on internship with a local Irish organization is personally matched to you by our internship team, so you have an authentic and active educational experience.
One of the best benefits that I've had with studying abroad in Dublin with SIUE is my internship. I had an internship with a multicultural newspaper, and that's really helped me on my resumes and getting the job that I have now. I got to meet and interview all different
when
types
it
of
comes
people, all
to
different types of faces,
international studies
and it's
majors,
really
and
helped
I am
me in the
totally
long run.
biased with this program, I absolutely love our peace and conflict program. It is a summertime program. As you see, it starts in Dublin, Ireland, and includes a study tour up to Northern Ireland. And it looks at the Irish peace process, the Good Friday Peace Accords, many of the same things that Dr. Cannon is looking at. But then we collectively go on a flight to Amman, Jordan, and you use that first course on the Irish peace process as a case study to then apply across the Middle East. But looking beyond the Arab-Israeli conflict, we're also looking at interregional and intertribal conflict. So it's 5 weeks, 3 different countries, because as Dr. Cannon says, you're in Ireland, then in Northern Ireland, the United Kingdom, and then in Jordan. 2 courses, so 6 credits would come back to SIUE. But then you have the option of staying in Jordan for an additional 4 weeks and doing 2 more courses of Arabic. And now it becomes a 12 credit. So basically a full-time semester credit load would come back to campus. We've also had several students over the last 2-3 years do our online virtual internships. The nice thing about that is you could also continue to stay in the Edwardsville area, take your courses as they are, but then you get to intern with a British or Irish company. Again, because we're not restricted by immigration rules, it is possible for you to do that internship without necessarily taking the academic course that goes along with that. Obviously, since it's online, there are certain privacy, GDPR restrictions, so we can't do accountancy and finance, but certainly there is still a wide swath of experiences that you can have. Several different opportunities, just giving you an idea of some of the dates currently. So again, 2 sessions in the summer, a late start in the fall, finishing sort of by Thanksgiving area. And then this past spring 22 began at the end of January and then ended just a couple of weeks ago.
My name is Danielle Kesey, and I'm studying Business Administration at the University of Florida. My experience with SIUE's online internship has been amazing so far. I've learned so much about business research, project management, and remote working. I feel like I'm gaining these valuable skills that are going to help me in the future, especially post-COVID-19 world. Internship is super flexible, and it allows me to take other online classes as well, which is great. If you're thinking about being a part of this program, I would highly encourage every student to be a part of it.
Hi, my name is Aisa, and I'm an incoming junior at the University of Arizona studying marketing and film. I personally had a fantastic experience with SIUE, and through their internship placement program, I've been able to develop professionally and learn how to work remotely. getting the opportunity to communicate with my supervisor, my mentor, and my colleagues overseas has been extremely helpful and very significant in boosting my communication skills, especially in the midst of COVID-19. I think it's super important to be able to adapt to the changes that are happening in the workforce, and this has greatly boosted my confidence in that. So I've had a great experience with FIE. I highly recommend.
Hey everyone, I'm Keyshawn. I'm a third-year student at the University of Florida. I'm currently interning as a research intern, writing reports based on economics and policy, particularly focused on fighting inequalities in Europe. What I think FIE excels at is adaptability. They were able to find me and many other interns work following the COVID pandemic. Also, FIE has a vast selection of industries and placement opportunities to create the best fit for you. And they hold their companies accountable by making sure that they have well-structured internships and that interns are useful and important to the company.
Now, what we've
just as I feel
experienced with
myself.
SIUE students is, again, as Dr. Cannon talked about, oftentimes it might be one cougar coming over to a program. And so while we are not a faculty-led program, like Dr. Cannon's, Dr. Schmidt's, we do have the full resources that are out there, whether it's in London or Dublin, to help you both within and outside the classroom.
At FIE, your health, safety, and well-being are of the utmost importance to us, and we have dedicated teams on site here to support you throughout your study abroad experience.
Our Residence Life team live and work in the student residences, supporting the community, responding to emergencies, and offering insider tips on the local neighbourhood.
Our Student Life team prepare you for life in a global city with our comprehensive orientation program, offer you advice on travel, health and insurance, and through a variety of fun activities, help you make the most of your life-changing study abroad experience.
Together, we provide a 24/7 service and are here when you need us. Whether you have a question about accessibility or an accommodation request,
Need to talk to someone about your mental or physical health?
or want recommendations on things to do or places to visit in the city,
we are here for you. We cannot wait to welcome you to the FIE community.
So as Dr. Nastasia mentioned earlier on, the big question is, how do I pay for it all? Now, as Brian mentioned, obviously your financial aid travels on the vast majority of these programs. I would urge you, I know as a longtime SIUE member and foundation donor, there are numerous campus scholarships to help you with study abroad, but there are also FIE scholarships, and our application process never has an application fee. The nice thing is you can apply for a scholarship before our program application deadlines. So you can actually know whether or not you've got the scholarship. And FIE scholarships are $3,000 for the semester and $1,000 for a summer program. But we also sponsor some external scholarships. And we had an SIUE student receive a $5,000 Fund for Education Abroad scholarship that really pretty much between all of his other scholarships and financial aid paid for his semester in London.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Jackson. I was a student at the College of New Jersey and I always wanted to study abroad. And I picked FIE because FIE had a partnership with my college that allowed me to pay the same tuition as if I was still on campus. So the fact that they made it that affordable also made it really accessible. And then I saw the scholarship option and I was like, oh my God, I need to apply. And the first prompt was on diversity and inclusion. So it definitely resonated with me as an Asian American woman. So I remember submitting the essay. I think I submitted it on Friday or Saturday, and I actually heard back by Monday that I had been selected for the scholarship. So it was just a really crazy ride. It was so fast, but I'm really glad everything worked out.
Obviously, your first point of contact is with the Study Abroad office in the Morris University Center. But just to give you an idea of some deadlines for the next year or so, obviously, because of the later start dates, we still are accepting applications for the online virtual internships in the fall. But then to give you an idea, October 15th for the spring semester, March 15th for summer 23, and then some slightly different dates for the online again, and then April 15th for our fall 23 semester. Lots of information, fie.org.uk. Feel free, drop me an email, send me a phone call or a text. I don't have to worry about being on US Central Time because we're in the same time zone here. Or obviously, as Ryan said, starfish him, send him a message and chat about different options. If you're interested in getting some more information, feel free, sign up, study.fie.org.uk/join-FIE, and I can send you an email with a whole bunch of more information. That's it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. This is a whole lot of information. I'm glad that actually for the first time I have something on video that I would like to post so the students can see. Oh, look, the only participant is saying, I would like an email. I would like an email, she says again. So write to her in the chat. You can select just her name, so not everybody sees it. And actually in the recording, the recording doesn't take the chat, so we can't see what you're writing. Okay, good. Well, Arkia, as I encourage you, if you have any questions, I have a question for you, Graham, because I saw that the domain of communications is included in the areas of study that you support through your study abroad courses. So remember that my main job is as professor of public relations in the Department of Applied Communication Studies. So, and also I picked the news that Johanna used your facilities at a certain moment in London. So maybe if we can create some kind of collaboration, I can try to offer again some study abroad courses or encourage students to go with you.
Absolutely. And just using broad, big definitions as well. The broadest definition of business is our #1 major in both London and Dublin. But again, using communication at its broadest definition, including public relations and everything else. Right. That's our #2 major. So, and then pretty much closely followed by everything else. But yeah, I would talk to Dr. Schmitz and talk about her experience and her students' experience in our housing, and then we can chat some more. Yeah. That was the big difficulty that I had, and I think Johanna can relate to that, that if you organize these courses by yourself and not supported by an institution, then it's crazy time when you have to, explain every expense and take care of any activity for the students. That's what happened to me in 2014.
I find that a pleasure. I like to do all of that.
Okay.
But this is why there's not one of us doing this. This is why there's a lot of us doing it, so that there's a lot of variation.
Maybe you don't like going to the hospital at 3 o'clock in the morning with a student, yes, which is something that we can take care of as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And I have done that. And not just in London, but they got put in a Warwick hospital. So it was a train trip every time too. But
I had to go with a student for a sore throat to a doctor in Munich, but it was just like 2 streets away from the hotel where we live. Look, Arkia says that she has a question. So Arkia, unmute your microphone and ask.
Hi. It was for SIE. Do you offer language courses specifically for like French or something?
We do not offer language courses. If you went to Dublin, we have a slightly different setup in Dublin, and if you were to do the study and internship experience, then many of our courses are offered through a partner institution in central Dublin. And so you would actually be able to choose from their course catalog, kind of the same way as you do in on campus at SIUE. And so I know for a fact that they offer Spanish and Chinese, because we've got a partner looking at those courses right now. So if they're offering Spanish and Chinese, I pretty much guarantee they're going to be offering something that you would want or need.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have to ask.
No problem. Ask any questions to any of the panelists. That's what we're here for. And actually, if we have genuine questions from the students, that could, make us not repeat the answer to maybe many others who might be seeing this, hopefully. But at least I have this recorded now, and I can keep it on our social media. And if anybody asks in the future in international studies or in my Department of Applied Communication Studies, I can give them this link. Okay. So any other questions between the panelists with the student from me? I don't know. Yeah, I would like us to help each other develop these things and think, not necessarily that we are in competition, but that we can help each other. Remember that international studies, I do as director of the international studies, a job that is a side job. My main job is an associate professor of public relations. But I tried to build this kind of group of people from different departments in the College of Arts and Sciences who are our steering committee and kind of perpetual collaborators to improve the program, but also to help their own programs. So we can see this kind of, students might be interested, look, in foreign languages, but also in something from the specializations that we have in international studies. Remember, Graham, I think I gave you one of our flyers at the time when we met in Edwardsville, but also if you go to our website, you can find this brochure or flyer, but the concentration areas are international relations and diplomacy, international art, culture and communication, international development and sustainability. And these are, broad idea domains, fields from where you can draw what kind of courses they can take.
And I think that summertime conflict and the struggle for peace is absolutely ideal for those international relations students. And I would love to get an SIUE student on that experience at some point.
So you never had one?
Not yet.
Yes, Johanna.
I would just like to reiterate that a travel study isn't a standalone thing. So many students have integrated the experience into their SIUE senior capstone projects. You could probably all give lots of examples for that. Also, sometimes students go thinking that they have one professional or academic ambition and they go and redirect. I remember standing next to someone, we were looking at the first folio in the treasures room of the British Library, which all of you should go to if you're ever stepped foot in North London. And she was quiet and sort of pensive. And I came up to the side and I said, "Are you okay?" And she said, "I just realized that I have to go to graduate school." And she did. So it's not a standalone experience. It can redirect you and it can help with as you finish your studies here.
And I always use the example of a student who was doing an internship and he just wasn't happy. And this was when I was working in London, and he finally made it to me. And I was asking him, well, your major is finance. You have your number one choice. You're in an accountancy placement. And he said, but all I'm doing is entering numbers into spreadsheets all day. And I said, well, what did you think you were going to be doing? Oh, I thought I'd be out with the partners doing audits and taking clients out for lunch. And I said, well, maybe in about 10 years' time, that's what you possibly could be doing. And he said, but I don't want to do this for the next 10 years. And so it's as much about learning what you don't want to do as in confirming what it is that you want to do.
Yes. And I want to reiterate what was mentioned briefly by maybe all of you, the costs. They are, especially for the summer, I saw it on my own calculations for costs for students and arrangements. It's comparable with the cost of living in the United States if you stay and take classes during the summer at the SIUE. Of course, there will be some added cost to the actual part that costs the most, the flight over the ocean if you're going to Europe. That will cost the most.
But Ryan touched on this, and I think it's important that people understand how financial aid works. Don't look at your financial aid package today and then say, oh, how am I going to go study in Europe or Australia or wherever using that exact same package? Because it doesn't work that way. The thing you need to look at, and in addition to meeting with Ryan, meet with your study abroad advisor, is it's a thing called cost of attendance. And if you don't have a passport, now suddenly your passport fee becomes part of your financial aid. If you're interning and you need a visa, that visa becomes part of your financial aid. Your airline ticket, you have to be able to get to class. Your class happens to be in London. That's now part of your financial aid package. And so all of your costs, yes, go up, but so does the financial aid that you will get as well.
Plus being aware of different scholarships, let us say. INTS has a particular scholarship that we are being given by the family of Elza Ibroskeva, who's one of our vice deans in the College of Arts and Sciences now. She used to be the chair of mass communications department. And through the family of her husband, they give $500 in the Musawi scholarship. And every time I put together a committee to evaluate that, and usually we have 2 applications, 3 applications, and then we decide that actually one application is worthy. And because it's Musawi scholarship, it gives preference to students who study in a Middle Eastern country. And you had the Amman leg of studying abroad, but nobody ever applied for that. So we are trying to find all kinds of things. Somebody was going to Spain, but from Spain was going for a few days to Morocco, and with that leg coming into an Arab country, then we said, well, it's worthy of being given those $500. $500 is not nothing. If the whole cost for 2 weeks could be 3,000, 3,500, Johanna, you had a question. Yes.
I'd like to say to students who might be thinking about this, but maybe shy, I would like to encourage them not to imagine encumbrances, that we can't solve problems we don't know about. So if you think there's something that prevents you from going, talk that over with us. We want you to go. The faculty at large wants you to go. SIUE wants you to go. The student loan people want you to go. The American government wants you to go. And I'm so glad that they brought up the financial aid. Your package will change, and your limits will change. So please don't just assume that your current situation is the situation, and please don't imagine encumbrances. We can't solve problems we don't know about. So please talk to us about what you think is holding you back.
Okay. Well, I think this was a very productive discussion for the first time, actually, in the past 6 years since the International Studies program existed. Hopefully we will see some results if people will watch this. I will, go to any length to try to inform our students, but at least now we have something recorded. Otherwise, there's a repetition of the same discussion. I guess Ryan knows about this, but it happens to me too, as director of the International Studies program, that the student, I have to explain and reinvent the wheel every time to each student, and then they don't pay attention, then they don't look at the scholarships, they don't look at the websites. And later on, they ask, where should I go for study abroad? I'm in the last semester and I still have to do the 6 credits. Study abroad.
And that's the important thing as well. It's never too early. So even those incoming first years in August, September should be starting to have conversations with their academic advisor, with financial aid, with Ryan, with the faculty about where should I be going as a junior, as a senior. Don't wait until you become a senior to try and work out if you want to do a study abroad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Kevin has to go, but I think we are also very close to the time that we proposed for this panel. Again, thank you very much for your participation today. I learned a lot and I hope the students will learn a lot. Have a good time and we'll speak in the future.